everyone, thanks so much for joining me. Today I will be talking about organizational culture, so I'll be telling you what that term means, and I'll also be talking a little bit about office politics as it's something we can't avoid. Did you know that about 1/3 of our adult lives will be spent at work? So with all that time being spent in the workplace, first it's important to decide where you're going to spend all that time, and secondly it's important for you to understand how to navigate office politics and how to make it work for you. Now, first I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a TV news reporter here in Montana. It's a beautiful state. We call it Big Sky Country, or the Treasure State. So I've been out here for about 5 to 6 months already, and I've covered everything from climate change in Montana and the economic impacts here in the Treasure State to, of course, covering the gubernatorial race, which is quickly heating up. And what else is heating up? Well, Super Tuesday. So as you know, 12 states and 1 U.S. territory are involved in today's Super Tuesday. So that includes states like Georgia and Colorado, Massachusetts. So you may even reside in one of those states. And of course, if you've been following politics at all, you'll know that candidates like Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, they're all vying for those delegates and they want to become the party's nominee. But I wanted to let you know that it's not just people that we're seeing on the large national scale who are knowing about politics. It's also important for you to know about politics because it's something that you can't avoid. Now, I wanted to start out by talking about organizational culture because this does relate directly to office politics. So again, you don't have to be running for a national election to know about politics. So let's start with organizational culture. Well, this is a term that is highly debated, even though it's been around for a couple decades now. A lot of people don't necessarily agree on what this term means. Now, Michael Watkins wrote an article in the Harvard Business Review back in 2013, and he also asked about 300 people on LinkedIn, what does this mean? So they responded and they had answers ranging from, well, it means, a reward system set up in work, to it means it's just the way we do things around here, it's the office bylaws, the office norms. So there's a variety of definitions for what organizational culture means, but most people do agree that it comes down to just the way things are done in an office, okay? So that also means the way office politics are done in any workplace. So whether you're working in the technology industry, whether you're in the US military, whether you're a dance instructor working at a studio, there's a variety of different ways that office politics can come into play in your own life, especially with you spending so much time at work and spending so much of your life at work. So I'm going to dig right in by talking a little bit about a theory related to office politics. This theory is called social analytic theory, and it was actually contributed partially by a psychologist named Robert Hogan. So he got his PhD from the University of California, Berkeley, and he has conducted many personality studies. So that's kind of how his research relates directly to social analytic theory, and what it comes down to is an evolutionary adaptation in communication, especially in settings. So what does that mean? Well, it means, according to Hogan, he said humans are not meant to live alone. They're meant to live together and in groups. So what does that mean? It means people want to get along. They ultimately want to get along with each other. So if you're looking at this from an evolutionary point of view, people want to be liked. They want to be liked especially by the leader. But also, this comes down to competition. People want to get along, but at the same time, they also want to get ahead. So this is where office politics can get a little bit tricky. So at the same time where you're wanting to get along with your coworkers, there's also, according to Hogan, an evolutionary need to want to get ahead in the workplace as well. So office politics can really come down to 3 needs. So besides Hogan's research, there's also another article published in Harvard Business Review by author Thomas Chimugo Premuzic. Okay, so he also he's a business psychology professor at the University of College London. So he said that it's very, very important to understand that there are three categories or three needs associated with office politics. So I want to start with the first one that he mentioned, and that would be to get along with others. So along with what Hogan was saying, this would come down to the evolutionary need of hunting in a pack. So when people were out hunting thousands of years ago, they had to get along with one another for that hunting to work and for them to feed their families. Well, also in the office, it comes down to getting along with one another, knowing more about one another, bonding with one another. So what was previously in the hunting realm where people were bonding, now it's in the office realm, because that's where we're spending most of our time. We're not out hunting anymore. We're spending time in the office. Secondly, as Hogan had mentioned before, and as I just touched on, it's also to get ahead. There's a psychological need for humans to want to get ahead in the workplace. So if you're spending this much time in the workplace, you're also wanting to rise up in the hierarchy or rise up the ladder. So this can come down to some power struggles as well. So if you're wanting to get ahead, you're also wanting to be liked by the leader, and maybe you're standing out as a leader, but maybe there's a power struggle between you and others in the group who are also at the same time trying to get ahead. So this is the second psychological need of wanting to get ahead. And again, this could cause some tensions in the group as well, in the workforce. Now last, groups also want to help you find meaning. So as you're spending time in a group, you're finding meaning, you're finding your calling maybe. So if you're a writer in a group or in a workforce, like me, well, I'm a writer, I'm a journalist, I'm a videographer. If I was working with someone else who was maybe my videographer, then we would have to work together as a team and we'd have to collaborate and come up with ideas. So in that sense, we're finding psychological need of having our needs met. So out of all of these three things, how do we make it work in the world of office politics? Well, it really comes down to verbal and nonverbal communication. So are you talking nicely to the people that you're working with? Or are you kind of talking down to them? Maybe you don't know it, but if you're adjusting your communication style to listen to someone, to respect them, not participating in office gossip, that's another big thing. So are you participating in office politics in a negative way? Or are you participating in politics to make it work for everyone as a collaboration effort? And if you're in management or in leadership, it also comes down to not encouraging office politics to become a game, which it could become in a larger corporation. So are you encouraging everyone in your workforce to respect one another, to work together? Or are you encouraging negative behavior of gossiping? So it comes down to those things, and it's very possible to successfully navigate the world of office politics. It comes down to proper verbal communication, nonverbal communication, respecting your coworkers, and if you're a manager, not encouraging office politics to take over your workforce. So I hope you're following Super Tuesday and keeping up with the world of national politics, but I also want to remind you that it's very possible to navigate the world of office politics, and it's important for you to know that communication in psychology plays a large role in you being successful in the workforce. Thanks so much for joining me. Again, I'm Melinda Zosh, and have a great night.